Welcome to the weekly review number 18. In this review, I found out something that I've been searching for a very long time. Over a year, in fact. And I believe that throughout this video, you will gain undeniable clarity on what life should be for you. As always, this video will be structured in two parts. The first one being some analysis of some podcasts, some clips, and then some analysis of my own life, of my own experiences from this past week. Let's dive in straight to the podcast. This past week, I've consumed all of these podcasts. Every single one of these I would recommend, but one from these had the most value and taught me the most. And it is the one from Tom Bilyeu. This week, the Diary of a CEO also released a podcast interviewing the same person, but the first podcast with Tom Bilyeu, at least in my opinion, had the most value in this case, and that is why I will be analyzing this one. Here is the first clip to see.
So this is where everyone needs to understand this. So my antidote to that problem is stop doing things that you're motivated towards. Conquer motivation as a phenomenon.
This thought of absolutely eliminating motivation from your life might be very difficult to achieve, but also would bring a lot of results. Since we got two sources of motivation, the internal and external. The external that we cannot change, modify, and that sometimes is good for us, and other times we cannot find any of this one. And the internal that has to be made by ourselves, but we cannot also produce an unlimited amount of this internal motivation. Therefore, if we would learn to completely eliminate this motivation fact out of our lives, of course, if sometimes we would get an inspiration or a whiff of motivation, that would just boost us even more, but not rely on it and rather forget entirely about it. Not wait to get motivated, but rather start doing the work right now. So here is the clip number 2.
But it's the conclusions that we jump to in our mind that sabotages us the most.
I fully agree with this statement as well. Everything that we do it because of our decisions with which we come up through our mind, through our thoughts, through some kind of a process. And the conclusions that we are left with, these are the ones that follow our next actions. Our human brain is made in a sort that it forgets, or at least stocks the not that necessary information deep inside. It cannot always have access to an entire block of information to justify why and what are you doing. And most of the time we're only left with the conclusion that we came up with. And that conclusion leads to our next step in life. It is therefore very important to review that conclusion before acting into a very important part of your life. If the decision that you are about to make is not important, then you can go on with your conclusion. But on any events in your life that could form your future, in that case, it is better to review your conclusions, review the process, how did you come up with these? And through that analysis, you might find out about some errors that you might have made in that process. Here is the clip number 3.
The one thing that I would say for you and everyone else out there is like, look at the nature of your fulfillment. What does it mean to be fulfilled? And sure, there's some biological cocktail of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, whatever you want. All that layering is there. And then the real question for you is, can you be okay with being unfulfilled?
Now, fulfillment is something that we all strive for. And being able to agree to not have such a great thing in your life is an extremely difficult task. It requires a lot of work. From my personal side, I'm still not there yet. And you have to apply a few other strategies in order to be able to overcome that discomfort of not being in fulfillment. And these next strategies will, of course, be covered in the next clips. Here is the clip number 4.
So the basic reason I think mental health is moving in the wrong direction is that the institutional powers that understand human behavior, our understanding of human behavior on the scientific or population level has grown so sophisticated, but our understanding of ourselves within us has come to an all-time low.
We are all quite capable people. If we're not babies anymore, then we can take care of each other, of ourselves. The government and our society helps us grow and gain in capabilities to add some value to that society. But during that formulation of us, it is very hard to cover all of the required parts and always modify the structure of the education to make it in sort that we are taught the most complete way possible. And in the case of our modern society, this problem that is touched on by this Healthy Gamer is his YouTube channel, is basically his username. Well, this modern issue is something that we all have to be aware of and therefore put our own work into figuring out how to go through all of this, how to not to rely on what the society will say next, but rather figure out the answers by ourselves, consuming educational content on the internet with a critical eye, of course. There is plenty of misinformation out there. Here is the clip number 5.
So now the question becomes, how can it be that meditation is an evidence-based treatment for all mental illnesses? How is that possible? And the answer is that it transcends mind. It moves so far. The whole point of meditation is we move beyond mind entirely. So you can have any kind of problem in the mind and it won't matter because we're stepping outside of it.
One of the best solutions into solving most of the issues that you have in your life with your mental, which also correlates with the solving of the physical side, the concept of meditation is pushed forward by this man and in other podcasts as well. All of the big podcast people, Joe Rogan, Stephen Bartlett, Chris Williamson, Andrew Huberman. Most of them, all of these that I have just cited, Joe Dispenza, all of these people see the value in meditation. Now, it is important to note that meditation might sound simple, but it is actually quite complicated. And it can range from one type to 100 different ones. And you have to go through an entire journey to come from the person that you are right now and your level in meditation to a level where you master meditation. I will continue this talk on meditation and my own experiences just after the rest of the clips. Here is the clip number 6.
And so the process of that spiritual path or whatever is simply to see things as they are without the crap that we attach to it.
Now, this clip will be also related to the next 2 clips, which I will show right now as well, the number 7 and the number 8.
Your mind works a certain way, creates distortions that can be somewhat predictable if you look at your traumas and your beliefs and your value system and just what your own personality is like. You can begin to really zero in on these. And that if you begin to pull certain levers, you can change the distortions to either transcend or to the way I think about it is, as I mentioned earlier, I see your frame of reference as a distorted lens that can be rewarped. If you do not understand the distortions that you're living inside of, you will never find your way out.
Both of these wise men agree on the fact that we all have our own perception of this life. And we have to be careful on the way that we perceive it. We have to acknowledge the fact that we might see this world and everything that is happening in it in an entirely false way. We have to question if our vision is near the correct side. And this is a job not just for now, but for the rest of our lives. And here is the last clip of this podcast.
And so knowing that not only does that catastrophe come, but that all of us die, much to my dismay, though I'd love to see it change, we are currently on a path. Nobody gets out alive. And if in the face of that, you throw up your hands and embrace a nihilistic view, you've just made things worse. Versus if you say, okay, I get it. At the end of this, I'm still going to find some way to connect to something positive. I'm going to recognize that I am the sky and not the storm rolling across it.
This is a very powerful message. I, of course, agree with it. And I have to add a little explanation on the analogy used if you haven't understood it fully. We shouldn't wait for life to end. We shouldn't run through it and expect death, but rather be in the present moment, live as much as we can, just embrace existing in this time and space, and enjoy the process of life to whatever comes after it. Moving on to the next part of the video, which is my own experiences. I would like to come back to the idea of the meditations. I began meditating 2 years ago. At first, I was very into meditating, and I saw it as a task that I cannot postpone, and as a task in which I have to improve every single day and push myself in discomfort. At one point, I was waking up in the morning and then laying in my bed and trying to meditate for 20 minutes in a cold room, in an uncomfortable position, fighting with sleep, fighting with thoughts. It wasn't a great experience, and I was far from the meditative state, the transcendent state that I hoped to achieve. Later on, since I disliked this meditation so much, I went into 5 or 10 minute meditations throughout the day. Then I just had enough of it. I didn't see many positives from it after a few months, and so I stopped. The mistake that I made while meditating back then is that I didn't do any research on meditation, and I thought that meditating is simply striving for a state in which you would have no thoughts. And after some time, I just didn't see any value in it. As I learned from this podcast and other ones, there are plenty of styles of meditation that you can combine. Find the best one. And one of the biggest aims of meditation is to not only be able to be in a clear meditative state while your eyes are closed and you're sitting on the ground, but also on the day-to-day life, while you are walking somewhere, while you are in the present, with eyes open, thinking, talking, doing anything. You can, of course, improve the state without meditation as well, just trying to be in the present with a clear focus, with pushing away all of the unnecessary thoughts. I have taken back meditation right now, and I'm trying to begin to be consistent in it again. And after watching podcasts like these, with words as strong that were said in these podcasts, now meditating is something that I really want to try. I've also reflected a lot on all that has been said in this and on everything that I know from my own experiences about change, about life, and about our goal. I tried to write down everything that I know and come up with sort of a protocol that could be generalized for the entire human population. This is a task that is extremely difficult, since all of us are very different. And one common issue that I encounter is that some of us just want pleasure, some of us want a pure life, while others just want to stop lives, cease living. And generalizing a protocol for all kinds of humans, no matter their mental state, is a task that at this point seems to be unreachable. Therefore, I'm making a protocol, a process that could be followed by most of us, which would help you achieve a state through which you would not only be full of positive emotions, of a clear mind, and striving for the best, winning in this materialistic world, but also unlocking parts of the spiritual world. Also, finding out the new dimensions that are mentioned by other people. One of the most important things in this realm, in this protocol, is that everything starts, and before saying that, as you probably already all know, our mental state is very much related to our physical state. And therefore, while working on this entire journey to come from the point that we are right now to the person that we wish to be, we first need to take care of our physical. And first, make up healthy lifestyles. Structuring your sleep schedule, eating healthy, exercising, and all of that. And when you begin making these good changes in this aspect, you then unlock the possibility to work on the mental side. And if you result into destroying all of the bad habits that you had around your physical side, then this side becomes your strength and then pushes your mental side into a better position. Of course, all of this journey is very difficult and uncomfortable, especially in the beginning. And therefore, you need to find out how to begin all of this by yourself. As I said, the best way would be to begin with your physical side. And then you can move on to your mental one and go as far in that one as you want to go. If you simply wish to continue to live your life as it is, with all of the instant gratification, all of the pleasures, while having some sort of a materialistic success, you can then just climb a little bit of it. If this materialistic world is not important to you, then you can fully give in into the spiritual side of things. For myself, I will be verifying all of my words that I have said in this weekly review. I'll try to apply this new protocol that I made for myself, and if I'll find success with it, my main mission will be to organize and structure it and then to present to you in a new video for free. One more thing that I want to add in this weekly review is that in the past weekly review, I said that I need to begin a drastic change. But a drastic change, at least in my case, is not possible. Beginning slowly and just climbing up is the best way to go. And one thing that I did notice is that you have to, and most of the time, the only way that you can go through the change in order to stay consistent is to begin very slowly, and then very quickly you will be able to exponentially make everything harder, push everything to the limit. I believe that even in that upcoming week that I'll be able to achieve a big part of my journey and be set to the journey of success. This was it for this weekly review. I recommend you watch my past week's weekly review, and I'll see you next week.